Hi guys, today I have a really exciting video. I cannot wait to do this. I don't know what kind of sparked this idea, but I think it's because Christmas is coming up. I know it's not really, it's still like 2 months away, but for me, I'm someone who loves Christmas. I couldn't care less about Halloween. Sorry, don't mean to offend a lot of you out there because I know a lot of people love Halloween, but I'm more of a Christmas person and I love Christmas content. I love everybody's Christmas content. I love when people are doing Vlogmas. I don't think that I'll be posting every day in December, but I'll definitely be posting a lot. And like I said, I just love the content that people make. And that's sort of what sparked my idea for this, because I was sort of thinking about like, what are my best palettes of this year going to be? And that made me think of the other past videos that I've done in recent years of my best palettes of, 2020, 2019, 2021. And I was like, I don't remember all of those palettes. I kind of want to go through and like look at those again and see if I still use those palettes. So what we're going to do today is I have pulled out my top 2 palettes from the last 3 years. We're going to combine these into a look together. And I'll kind of tell you how I feel about these palettes now that it's been some time. Maybe I have changed my preferences. Maybe these formulas aren't what I enjoy anymore. Maybe they're still my absolute favorites. I just think that that could be really, really fun. So I'm excited to dig into this, but I do want to do some face makeup first. And I'm happy to say that a portion of this video is actually sponsored by Colourpop. So I'm going to be using some Colourpop products for my face. And I feel like a lot of the time with Colourpop, most people tend to talk about their eyeshadows and like their collections as a full, and then you don't really see those products featured a lot again. But I have had such good luck with these products in particular that I want to share with you guys. I've talked about these in the past, but I'm really excited to just be using them again. So first up, let's start with the bronzer. Like you can probably see I have a large dip in this. I've used this every single day since I bought it, and this is the Super Shock Bronzer Matte in the shade I'll Bet. This is such a wonderful, wonderful product. I really enjoy this. I just got back from a trip. This was the only bronzer that I brought. And the brush that I always use with this is the Rephr. What number even is this? I think it's number 18 brush. I really enjoy this for the Super Shock formula just because this is sort of it is a cream to matte, but I don't find it to be like super creamy, but I do prefer something that's a little bit denser to pick it up with, because I just feel like it blends it out nicer and I just like to have control. So I like something kind of dense and something small like this brush. You do not need a Rephr brush. You don't need a natural hair brush. Any synthetic brush will work fine too, but I would recommend using something that's a little bit more on the kind of stiffer side and something that's going to pick up the product a little bit easier. But did you see how easy that went on? And this color is just so perfect for me. I can use this bronzer as sort of a bronzer and blush in one if I want to. If I don't want to go in with a blush, but like, it's me. Of course I'm going to use a blush, because have you ever seen me not use a blush? I don't think that happens, because I love a good blush moment. So that's what we're going to do after this. But I just cannot get enough of this bronzer, and I can definitely see myself like using this whole thing. I mean, I do have a little bit of pan here, but I feel like that's just because of the nature of this formula, is that you tend to kind of dig in the middle, and that's where you're going to sort of move the product around a little bit, so you do create pan. But there is a lot of product in these, and I don't think that you're going to go through them super quickly, even if you use it every single day like I have, because I've probably used enough for a month or so. And I would say if I were to use this every single day, I would probably get another 3 months out of this, maybe 2 to 3 months. So that's a pretty good value for your money, I would say, because these are very affordable. And I think the Super Shock formula from Colourpop is just so good. And I don't know why it took me so long to kind of jump on that train. I feel like I've sort of been sleeping on it for a little bit, and it wasn't until I came out with bronzers that I feel like I really gave them a chance. So for my blush today, I'm going to use this palette. You've seen it a lot. I've talked about this so many times. I love this little palette. So we're going to use it for the blush and for the highlighter. This is in the shade At First Crush. They have a lot of these small little palettes. The formulas in here are wonderful. I think I'm going to go in with the pink shade, because just kind of looking at the palettes that I have in front of me and what I'm kind of expecting to end up with on my eyes, I think that using a pink blush is just going to work out nicely. So you can see that went on so nicely. It is quite pigmented, so if you don't like a pigmented blush, maybe don't go in as heavy as I do, because I love a good blush moment. So like I said, I'm not scared of it being pigmented, so I am going in quite heavy, but if you're scared, it will blend out nicely. It does go on sheerly if you wanted to. It just depends on really how much you pick up on your brush and how you end up applying it. But I just really, really like the colors in this one, and I'm very tempted to pick up more of them because I do feel like this one in particular is maybe meant for someone with a little bit of a deeper skin tone than I have just from the highlighter shade in here. Which honestly, I like a highlighter that's a little bit darker than probably most people of my skin tone does, because I don't like when there's a cast on my highlighter. I'd rather have a highlighter that's sort of the same color as my skin tone. So this one is perfect for that. I'm just going to take my powder brush and sort of just make sure that the edges are blended here. It's always a step that I like to do just to make sure that I tone it down a little bit and just get a bit of a better blend with this. Oh, I forgot to put some on my nose. We're gonna blush the nose because every time I don't blush my nose, I feel like something is missing. There we go. That is much better. So I think for the brush I'm gonna use for this highlighter, I'm gonna go with probably something like my Unearthly brush. I really like this highlighting brush. Honestly, all the brushes from Unearthly are amazing. If you've been thinking about picking them up, would highly recommend them. I'm just gonna go into this shade right here. So this is sort of a Super Shock formula. So if you're unfamiliar with this, I would say, again, use a bit of a stiffer brush to apply it with and kind of dig in a little bit. I like to put it on the side of my brush because I feel like it just picks up a little bit better, but just try it with different brushes. If you feel like maybe one isn't working the way that you want it to, try a different brush until you find a way that works best for you application-wise. But what I like about this color in this palette is that it's not super blinding, but it looks very natural, but still kind of wet looking and shiny. And it just, I don't know, I feel like it just goes with every single eye look ever. So it doesn't matter what I end up doing on my eyes if I use this highlighter, because it's just going to match, because it's a very, very neutral color. And I think that that looks so beautiful. I really like that. I'm just gonna go in with a little bit more of my blush. I do like to kind of layer my face products a little bit just to make sure that it's all meshing together, and I think that's gonna be it for the cheeks. I do want to first do lips because I have a couple of products here as well that I love. I've been using ever since I tried this. This is the glowing lip formula. Listen, I'm gonna pick up more of these because I've been using this so much. I think it's such a lovely formula. It looks so nice on the lips. It's so comfortable. Oh, it smells wonderful. This is in the shade Adults Only, and I'm also going to use a lip liner from Colourpop. I know I mentioned in the past that I ended up buying the lip liner Vault from Colourpop, and I've gotten so much use out of those. That was actually one of the best purchases I think that I made this year. It was more of a kind of it's not a necessity. Listen, I didn't need like 40 lip liners or however many were in that set, but I just feel like now it doesn't matter what lipsticks kind of come in or what lipsticks I buy, I'm always going to have a lip liner that's going to at least work with the lipstick, even if it doesn't match it. So I'm just quickly going to line my lips. I really like how creamy the lip liners from Colourpop are, because you can really use them to fill in your whole lip if you wanted to as well. But I do find that this lip formula is opaque enough that I don't need to do this, and this color is so stunning. Like, look at that. That is so pretty. I don't know why more people are not talking about this formula, because I think it is one of the best lip formulas that I've ever tried from Colourpop. I do prefer lip products that are on the opaque side personally. I don't really like, well, I do like matte bullet lipsticks. I'm not a fan of like matte liquid lipsticks, but I do like my lips to be fully covered in, okay, here's the thing. I don't like when my lip liner is visible. I think that's where I'm going with this. And I also don't like when I wear a sheer product without a lip liner. So for me, just for my lip shape, I don't like my natural lip shape, because I just feel like it doesn't look that great with like sheer product. So I do feel like I need a lip liner to just kind of outline with. So this is perfect, and I think this is so pretty. I will make a community post as well and link some of my other favorite Colourpop products, so go ahead and check that out as well. I guess let me show you the palettes before we get into the rest of the video. So we're gonna start with, I think these are my favorites from 2019. So in the second place from 2019 is the Metropolis palette from Natasha Denona. I loved this palette, even though back then I really wasn't into neutrals at all, but honestly I felt like this palette was so versatile and the formulas were amazing that this deserved to be super high up in my best palettes of that year. So that ended up being my number 2 palette, and my number 1 palette that year was from Glaminatrix, and this is their Sandra Rose palette. This is such a beautiful color stories, and back then this shimmer formula was extraordinary. Like, I had never seen metallic shades like the ones that were in this palette, and I feel like you can get this now from a lot of different brands, so I don't find this palette to be as sort of wowingly amazing as it was back then, but I still think it's a beautiful color story, and I really do think that I'll be able to use this palette to create something really, really nice. So for 2020, I guess it was 2020, my second palette of 2020 was the El Barrio palette from Terra Moons. Now I know Terra Moons has just released another palette, and I kind of slept on that. I don't know what happened. I just sort of, I mean, I had COVID and then I traveled for a wedding, and I just sort of forgot that that palette even happened, but I'm excited to be using some Terra Moon shadows again. It's been a little while. These metallics are insane. The mattes are really, really nice. I think it's a really fun color story. So I think that I'll be able to find a way to make all of these work together. At least that's my plan. We'll see how that goes. And the number 1 palette of 2020 ended up being the Impressionism palette from Musée Beauty. I've talked about this palette so many times, and I think that if this had come out now, I wouldn't have felt the same way about this palette, just because I feel like even though the shimmers are really nice, I just want a little bit more, just a little bit more from my shimmer. I do feel like these are a little bit on the more subtle side, but they do wear beautifully and they look really, really nice on the lids. And these mattes are wonderful, and I really enjoy this color story. So I can't wait to see what I'm gonna end up doing, because I feel like I need to plan this out in a way. I could end up doing it like palette bingo style, but I really want this to be like a cohesive look that sort of shows off all of the palettes. So let's move to 2021. My second palette of 2021 ended up being the Club Nebula palette that Angelica did in collaboration with Kaleidos. This is a stunning palette, and I'm really excited to be dipping into this again because I haven't used that in a very long time. And then the number 1 palette of last year ended up being the Break the Rules palette from It's Belle Cosmetics. I have used and abused this palette, as I'm sure you can see. Like, it's rare for me to have pan and eyeshadows, and actually I pan in this one. I'm close to hitting pan in this. I have a very, very large dip in this shadow and this shadow, and I just love this palette. I think this is such a good palette. It's so fun, and this was like back when no brands were releasing all shimmer palettes, and so I feel like this was sort of what started it all, especially for me, and I fell in love with this palette. I'm gonna start by priming my eyes with the Natasha Denona eyeshadow base as per usual, and I'll think about what to do with this because I really, at this very moment, I have zero clue. Like, no idea what I want to do with this look, but I gotta figure something out at least. So I'm just gonna start. Now, one thing I do know I want to use is one of these 2 dark cream to powders from Natasha Denona. So I'm gonna use probably the lighter blue in the El Barrio palette as my transition shade. I think I'm gonna start with this one and deepen it up with one of the Natasha Denona shades because I want to see how well they have aged, because I haven't used the Metropolis palette in a very, very, very long time, and I don't know how that formula has held up over time, and I'm just curious. So I'm just gonna start with this blue matte from the Terra Moons palette in my crease as my transition shade. I'll probably do something different underneath my eye just so I can, you know, put on as many shades as possible. I'm not necessarily going for one shade in each palette here, but if that's what it ends up being, then that's what it ends up being. But I definitely want to use all of the palettes in one way or another. So I'm just packing the shadow on using a Blend Bunny brush because they are great for packing. And this is a beautiful color. I am very curious about their newest one. Let me know if you picked up the new palette from Terra Moons, and if you've gotten it yet, I think it just released. I think I'll probably end up picking it up, but I'm also at the point where I'm just like, I felt so overwhelmed before my trip with things that I hadn't reviewed yet and I needed to try, and I just had so many packages come in that right now that it is a little bit more quiet and I don't feel like I have that many things to review anymore, I'm like, I kind of want to just chill for a little bit. I kind of want to just chill for a bit because I know that, you know, holiday releases are going to be coming. I already have one that I've gotten in that I'm really excited to start filming with, but I don't want to get to a point where I always have 3 new palettes that I haven't tried and I'm always like playing catch up. So now that it is kind of quiet, I want to sort of try to take advantage of that a little bit so I can make some more content that's not just, you know, first impressions or always working on 3 look videos. But I mean, that's not gonna happen, but a girl can hope. But this is so beautiful. That looks amazing. I am going to just blend the edges a little bit afterwards, but I'm just gonna deepen this up first. So let's see, which of these shades are going to be darker? That feels really nice and creamy still. So does that one. Okay, so I'm gonna use that one. This one feels a little bit creamier, so I just want to make sure I can get this as dark as possible. I do find that the creamed powders from Natasha Denona are better with natural hair brushes, so I am going to use the Rephr brush for this, and I'm just going to kind of swirl in there. I do remember that these are swirly shades, and it picks up a little bit better that way if you do go in quite heavy with them. And I'm just going to use that as my deepening shade in this look, and we're just going to see how this is going to end up looking. This is going to take a little while to build up just because of the formula, but I think we're going to be able to get a really, really nice blend with this. And these are working super nicely together. I'm so impressed by like how this formula has held up because it is a cream and it is in a palette that doesn't really have like a cover or anything on it. I mean, it does obviously close, but it doesn't have anything to keep the air really from getting into it, and this is still so creamy. That is beautiful. I really enjoyed this color combo. And I'm super excited to start doing my countdowns and my rankings of the year and just trying to figure out like what has actually been the best palettes that I've tried this year, because this year I feel like it's going to be so much harder than any other year. I don't know. There's just been so many amazing palettes, especially in the last half of this year. I feel like the last couple of months, oh my god, there's been so many good palettes coming out that I don't know what I'm gonna do with my rankings this year. It's gonna be so hard, but I'm also really excited to just play with those palettes again. Gotta love when they're coming out with the leaf blower while I'm in the middle of filming a video. I'm gonna go ahead and just take this a little bit underneath my eye as well in the outer corner just so I can connect everything here, and then I'm probably gonna do some kind of a green or something in the front portion. Just taking a little bit more of the Terra Moon shade, and I'm gonna use that to just blend a little bit more and get the shape the way that I want in the outer corner. Just gonna wing it out a little bit. I think I am going to pull in some green because this green here is screaming my name. This is from the Impressionism palette from Musade Beauty, which is now called Kylov. I probably forgot to mention that in the beginning, but they did switch their name to Kylov, so that is what they're called. I'm gonna use this shade here, which is the shade called Parasol. I think this is mostly going to end up being a blue look today, but that's sort of what I'm feeling like, so like I'm not even sorry at all. But I do want to pull in just a little bit of a different color here, so I'm just gonna put that on the front portion of my lower lash line. This is such a beautiful green. It's almost like a pastel-y green, but it's also not a pastel because I feel like it doesn't have enough white in it to be a pastel. So it's quite a unique shade to my collection. I think I'm gonna use a bit of these shimmers over the top of this as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna mix this green shimmer with this lighter shimmer just so I can get a lighter green, and I'm just gonna layer that over the top of the matte that I put down just to get a bit of a sparkly finish. And definitely don't be afraid to mix colors and palettes together because that way you have way more versatility. You can get a better blend. and you just have more shadows to work with. And I think this is doing exactly what I wanted it to do. I'm also gonna do an inner corner shade, but I just haven't quite gotten to that point yet. I just wanted to use a couple of more shades in this palette because I felt like just having a little bit of that green maybe wasn't enough. Yeah, these shimmers are definitely not as impactful as what I prefer now, but I also do see why I like them because they're very smooth. They look really nice on the eyes. They don't crease. They just behave well, and I do like that in shimmers, but I do want just a little bit more sparkle, so we're definitely gonna amp this up a little bit. Now let's move to the lid. I am gonna put on just a little bit of my NYX glitter primer on my lid here before I go in with the shimmers, because I do know that the shimmers that I plan on using are gonna look so much more intense and sparkly and beautiful over the top of a glitter primer than just if I'd use them on their own. So I'm gonna start with, I think, a shade in the Sandra Rose palette, and I'm gonna take the dark blue shimmer here because I think that's gonna blend very nicely into the outer corner. This one is called Sandra, and I'm basically just gonna layer that over the outer corner shade and just a little bit in the middle of my lid as well, just to help with the blend a little bit here. This isn't going to be a revolutionary look or anything like that. I just wanted to have some fun with these palettes and just kind of use them again, you know? That's pretty much just it. I just wanted to use them again, and I just want to do a pretty look that I'm going to enjoy wearing the rest of the day. I didn't want to do it palette bingo style because I just wanted something that I knew I'd be happy with. You know, sometimes with palette bingos, you don't know what you're going to get, and it might end up looking kind of crazy, and I didn't feel like looking crazy today because it's the first day back that I've been able to sit down and actually like do my makeup with my normal setup and my normal lighting. And that's one of the things I hate when traveling, is that doing your makeup in like bathroom lighting in hotels, not ideal. I don't love that for myself. So I'm happy to just be back in my own little studio here. And I'm next gonna go into the It's Belle palette, and I'm gonna use this shade, which is called Your Choice. This is one of my favorite shades in this palette. It is just so insanely beautiful. And I'm just gonna put that on the rest of my lid. Like, see how stunning that is. I love this shade. And I think I'm just gonna use one of the shades from the Kaleidos palette as my inner corner shade because I'm running out of room and I don't know what else to do. But I just knew I wanted to use this shade on my lid because it is one of my favorites in this palette and one of my favorite shades in all of these palettes combined. And I wanted to show it off because I just think it is one of the best shades in my collection, if I'm gonna be honest. I just can't get enough of this shade. I just think it looks so nice. And lastly, I'm gonna use the iridescent shade in the Kaleidos palette, which is called Nova, and I'm just gonna use that to brighten up my very inner corner. And this is a stunning sort of lavender iridescent shade. I'm not sure how well it's gonna go with this look, but I thought that it would kind of make sense to use the shade in my inner corner because I don't think there were really any iridescent shades in the other palette. So that's just kind of what we're doing. And I think this is gonna work out well. Like, I think I like this. I think this looks pretty good. I think I'm gonna use a bit of the green iridescent shade as well, which is the shade called Firefly. And I'm gonna take a bit of this under my eye just to add some more sparkle. Yeah, do you see what difference that made? I mean, it's kind of subtle, but you can definitely see it. Like, this shade underneath here is way more intense than on this side. And that is more what I'm looking for in my shadows these days. And I think that's going to be the look. I'm gonna go ahead and finish off. I will probably use Prance in my waterline because blue, this is from Colourpop. Of course, you guys know I love this. So I'm gonna put this in my waterline. I'm gonna do some probably lashes as well, and I will come back and I will show you the final look. And this is the completed look. So I tried some new lashes today. This is another pair that I bought from Unearthly Cosmetics, and these are in the style Immortal. I think I like them. Are they a little too big? I feel like they suit my eyes okay. I did cut off quite a bit. I cut off like 2 big chunks because they were very long, but I think I like them. I have to wear them a couple of times and just make sure that I feel like my application is okay. And I feel like they look pretty good today. I'm not mad at this. I'm really happy with this look overall, and I'm pleasantly surprised that every single palette that I used today performed really well still. It's so hard for me to be able to go back to older palettes just because of how many new things I'm getting into my collection. And like I've said before, don't get me wrong, I love that. I love reviewing new palettes, but it is also a little bit sad that I just don't really have enough time and enough eyeballs to really play with all of the makeup that I have in my collection, especially like the palettes that I've really enjoyed in the past. But all of these palettes are really, really nice palettes, and I'm so happy that I was able to kind of make time to do this. And, you know, I decided that this was important enough that I wanted to do, and I'm glad I sat down to film it because this was really fun, and I'm so excited to see which palettes are going to end up in the top this year. I have ideas, but I also know that maybe I will end up with something that was unexpected. You never know. So I think that's pretty much going to be it for today's video. Thank you, Colourpop, for sponsoring a portion of this. Like I said before, don't forget to check out my community tab as well for some more products that I recommend from Colourpop, because I think that they are an amazing brand with very good, affordable products that just work really well. So that's gonna be it for today. If you want to see me do this again in the future, or like do similar things, let me know. I can probably do that. If you want to see some, I don't have any similar videos. Here's a video that you might enjoy, and if you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.